Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 30. Can you believe it, Bo? 30 of the Jiu Jitsu Dummies podcast. We are sponsored by Fightback CBD. Get 15% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com with code JJD. We'll be giving away a couple of bottles this week. Normally, we give it out to people who send questions, but didn't have really good questions for this episode. So it was a little bit more general. So we're going to figure out how to get it to some of our podcast Patreons. So we're going to give away 4 bottles, separately 4 bottles on our IG this month. So check out the post that we're putting with Fightback CBD. You got to like, share, and tag a couple of friends. Tag some partners. We're also sponsored by War Bar Soap. Get 25% off of their hygiene products with code JJD at warbarsoap.com. He gave us 5 bars of soap that we gave away in September, so we did those same kind of contest. All right. We want to thank Flow and Roll for all their support. Go check them out at flow_n_roll on Instagram. You can get 20% off your online order with code JJD at flowandroll.com. And always check out their Instagram. He's got tons of custom work that he does for gyms all over South Florida, really all over the country. But he focuses kind of like in and around that Orlando, Tampa area right now. Okay, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share wherever you're watching and listening. We appreciate the feedback and the support, guys. Thank you so much. I am Milton Campus. I'm a purple belt at Fight Sports Coral Springs. You can check me out at Uncle Milty BJJ. Today it's just me and Bo. We have a special guest in a second, but today in the studio it's me and Bo. Yo. Junior's working, and Miguel is at the New Breed in Miami.
He's wussing out.
So he's been sending me some updates. I believe he made it to the quarterfinals, so that means he won at least his first match. So, and my lovely assistant Bo, how you doing, brother?
Hi.
If we're talking about competing, so if you're a competitor, a parent, a coach, anybody who wants to get their kid into an event, you can actually raise money for the Jiu Jitsu Dummies Foundation. And if you raise $300, you can get $100 towards your actual tournament fees. If you raise $500 or more, we'll send you a gi from Flow and Roll, always helping us out. And you get the $100 entrance fee. And if you raise over $1,000, you get the gi, the $100 towards your entrance fee, and you get a gift card to our podcast store. Okay. So if you're trying to get into any event, I don't care where it is, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, raise some money for us, and we're going to do the same. Okay. You can also follow that same link. All right. It's in our podcast description. It's in the video description on YouTube. You can set up a recurring donation. So if you wanted to give us $5 a month, kind of like the Patreon system, you can donate $5 a month, and it'll just be a recurring donation, or you could just do a one-time donation.
You could do
but
500.
You can also become a fundraiser. You can click on fundraiser or donate now.
We'll take 500 too.
I'll take 500 too. Yeah, it'll. So we're on. What do we do? We have we've done 2 youth scholarships so far, and with the help of Dave from High Road and Fightback CBD, Justin from Fightback, we've been able to really kind of schedule out the 3rd before the holidays. So we'll have 3 youth scholarship winners all getting their jiu-jitsu paid for 1 full year. So we thank everybody who's been helping us out. Again, special thanks to Dave at High Road, who's just been donating constantly. He's really helped us out. We couldn't do it without you, Dave. Thank you so much. Okay. Now the BS is out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have Nick Rahn from Warriors Neck Adventure. Let's get him on screen, Bo. How you doing, Nick?
Hey man, how you doing?
Sorry about that little hiccup. That was all Bo's fault. So
it's all good.
Don't worry. I'm gonna dock his pay. So it's
Sure.
We'll figure it out.
If it's raining somewhere, it's my fault.
And Nick is from Warriors Next Adventures, and I hate to butcher stuff. So I want you to kind of tell us a little bit about what you guys do, and also I usually start with name, rank, and where do you train?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Nick. I'm a blue belt. I've been training for 13 damn years, and I'm still a blue belt.
Whoa, 13 years. What the hell happened?
Long story, man. I started training in 2007 on my first deployment.
Okay.
Deployment. I was in Qatar. So if anybody's a veteran, they know anything about it. It's not a deployment.
Okay.
So I got bored on the deployment, and there was an Army guy that was a purple belt, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to train jiu-jitsu?" I was like, "What the hell is jiu-jitsu?" I had seen a little bit of some of the UFC stuff, some of the original.
Yeah.
I grew up with my dad watching he bought a DVD called Best of Ken Shamrock, and so I was a huge Ken Shamrock fan, and so I was like, oh, that's what jiu-jitsu is. And so he whooped my ass for about 3 months, and then do you guys do swearing on this podcast?
You can. You know, we got a little tip from somebody that you got to be careful in the first 5 minutes because we do some advertising. Yeah, first 5 minutes. After that, then it's drop the F-bomb as much as you want.
I have a horrible mouth.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't even think about it.
So he beat the crap out of me the first 3 months, and then finally after 3 months, I got another kid in a triangle. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm a superhero. And then got back from that deployment, and I was only home for 2 months. I ended up going to training again and deployed again to Iraq. And then we trained a little bit in Iraq, and I actually met Joe Lozon for a USO tour over in Iraq. So I had only rolled for maybe like 4 months total. And so I'm here trying to roll with Joe Lozon, trying to do anything, and he taps me out like 15 times in like 5 minutes.
Wow.
And he's hosting one of our jiu-jitsu events when we go around our podcast or our documentary series. And I ended up doing some boxing matches in Iraq in Bucha back in 2008. I got back after talking to Joe. I told him I want to be a fighter. He's like, you need to focus on jiu-jitsu. I was like, okay. So I got back, did a tournament. I won my first match, lost my second in Naga, and it pissed me off. So 2 weeks later, I did another jiu-jitsu tournament for a Naga out in Charlotte, and I won 4 matches to get first place. And I won a samurai sword. I'm like, I'm a fucking superhero. And so I was like, all right, this is cool. So what's next? And I was like, I want to be a fighter now. And so I figured one jiu-jitsu tournament win, and I could actually be a fighter. So I ended up, my coaches beat the crap out of me for a couple months. And then I actually ended up doing my first cage fight in 2008. What was that? 2009 in October over at the RBC Center in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I won. I fought a Marine, but I ended up winning a 3-round decision. But after that, my girlfriend, or my wife at the time, she's like, you got to stop training. I was like, what? She's like, it takes too much time away from me, and blah, blah, blah. We're no longer together. So yeah, I quit for a while, and then I came back in 2014, 2016. I broke my neck, so I had to take a couple days off. I got put in a head and arm choke, and I jumped and I tried to spin to the side. My body turned, but my neck didn't. So I rotated 2 vertebrae in my neck, my C6 and my C5. And then my C6 nerve popped out, and I like lost 1.5 inches of mass on my right bicep, and it sucked.
Wow.
But they said it was like an 18-month recovery, and they're like, yeah, you should never fight again. I was like, nah, I'm going to fight this year. They're like, no, you're not. I did my own PT, and a lot of people get turned off when I say this, but I've been practicing Buddhism since 2016. And so one of the things is like, just ultra focusing on healing through meditation and everything, but also doing PT and everything. It's not just like some magic cure. I was medically cleared to fight in 2 months. 2 months later, I was, just getting done with surgery. I started my fight camp. 2 months after that, I fought August 27th, 2016, and I won Fight of the Night that night. Nice. So it's been a crazy thing. And then 2017, I ended up, I hurt my neck again, took some time off. I think it was 2018 came around. I took another fight and just decided to start fighting again. Wow. I did well. I won in like 1 minute and 10 seconds with the armbar, and then got knocked out and got a TBI in 2018. Took another like 3-4 months off, and then I've been training again. So lots of breaks.
So if you took the doctor's advice, you wouldn't be training at all?
If I took the doctor's advice,
if it wasn't
I'd
up
never...
to you, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't let people tell me what I can and can't do. So I usually do the opposite.
Yeah, like most of us in this room.
18 months? Nah, give me 2.
Yeah. Wow. So currently, are you training now? Are you able to train? Yeah. Now you're training just jiu-jitsu, or are you still trying to fight? And
just jiu-jitsu. We got a new guy that came in that wants to be a fighter, and so my coach is like, you need to beat the living shit out of him to make him understand that he doesn't want to be a fighter.
Yeah.
So anytime we roll, I just smash the shit out of him, and then we do a little bit of Muay Thai after training. And he's like 130 pounds. So I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. So I kick the crap out of him. So
yeah. Is it
I just want to
just
see
one
if
of
he's ready for it.
Yeah, is he someone that trained, or is he coming in cold, going, "Hey, I want to be a fighter because I watch UFC," or is he someone that's trained over the course of his life and yeah, he's got it. He's just
No.
gotta put in the work. No,
No,
I hope he's not listening.
He trained Muay Thai. No, he trained Muay Thai a few times, and
Yeah.
He's never done jiu-jitsu. Last night was his first night of jiu-jitsu, and so I literally just laid on top of him and held him down on a topside crucifix.
Yeah.
I was like, "Come on, man, get up."
Yeah. That's my favorite part of jiu-jitsu. I mean, I love jiu-jitsu. My favorite part of jiu-jitsu is coaching and training. I don't officially coach in my gym by any means right now. I've coached before, but like today I had an awesome time. We had an open mat and people were just asking me questions. Hey, can you work with this guy?
Yeah.
You know, like I like working with the new guys and show them kind of like, close guard, side, mount, and I love that part. So like when the newbies come in, like I'm a purple belt now, but like I'll gravitate towards them, especially when I see like, a lot of times you get thrown into the mix and, then there's the white belt smashing. Oh, I lost my sound, Bo. I lost my sound there for a second. Can you hear me?
You back now?
We're good? Yeah. I lost you for a second. I lost myself for a second. So, a lot of times when the new guys come in and then, the white belts are like,
Yeah, they want to smash.
Yeah, they want to smash. So I usually grab those guys and I say, come, let me just show you the basics.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kill you, but here, come into my guard. Let me show you. So that's one of my favorite parts.
My coach lets me do that with the new guys too, especially if they're veterans. Because we'll get to that in a little bit. But with Warriors Next Adventure, veterans get to come in and train for free for like a week or two, and so I bring them in there, and then I usually roll with them just to show them a few basic moves. Just the guard, mount, and like side control stuff like that. But I get to coach a lot of the kids at the tournaments, which I think I'm a better coach than I have ever been a competitor. I mean, I was ranked number 3 in Minnesota for welterweights.
Okay.
For MMA back in 2018, but I think coaching just makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I can see things that people aren't doing, and usually I can call them out. And I think just about every kid that I've coached in a tournament has won their match.
Nice.
It's all them.
Yeah.
But they just listen.
Yeah. I find that when I do coach, again, I'm using the word coach. I don't coach at my school, but when I grab somebody and they're asking me questions or I want to show them something coaching, but I'm supposed to be doing my own training. But when I coach, I really catch, oh wow, I've been doing this wrong. Wait a minute, I forgot I got to put my foot here. You have to be a little bit more analytical yourself, and you have to okay, I'm teaching somebody else. I have to teach them I always tell you, look, this is the way I do it. This is by the book, and this is the way I do it. This is what I found works for me. So, again, I usually show them both sides and then say, look, coaches, the professor wants you to do it this way. I do it like this. And then you're going to figure out how it works best for you. So, but again, one of my favorite things to do is to take those guys and kind of show them. And then, hopefully they stick around and they evolve.
Well, especially when you've been training for so long, you're going to develop your own game. I have my own style. I do everything wrong. So that's usually what I do. That's my style.
Yeah.
I do everything fucking backwards. But no, it's just I'm a lot taller and I'm a lot longer than my coach, and so what I'm going to do is a little bit different than what he's going to do. I mean, he's like 5'10" and but he's stocky and big. I'm 6'2" and I'm fairly skinny, and so I got really friggin' long arms. I got like a 76-inch reach.
Oh geez.
So my arms are going to reach a lot farther, and I got really long legs too. So I can do different things than he can. So I'm going to have a different game than my coach.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. But he's really good at seeing, the way that I move my body. And so he's really good at coaching me my style. And that's one thing I really like. His name is Mark Mortensen. He's an Air Force vet as well. And he's the first gym that I trained at when I got back to Minnesota at Track Speed JJD. So he's awesome. He's always, I'd say he's a great coach because he sees a lot of the little things. And I noticed that a lot of gyms that I've been to that teach like the basic, but not that little, turn your hand slightly this way. That little bit changes so much,
Yeah. So where are you right now? Where are you coming to us from? You're in Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay.
I train up in Coon Rapids, which is the Twin Cities.
Okay.
Everybody knows what the Twin Cities is.
All right. Now let's jump into Warriors Next, how this got started, what drove you to do what you're doing now. So let's explain to everybody what Warriors Next Adventure is.
Sure. quick backstory on myself. I'll do a lot of people have heard my story. You know, I know a lot of your viewers haven't. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty dark story. So I was deployed 4 times, and I spent a total of maybe 11 months doing my regular job back home in the military in the 6 years that I was in the military. The majority of my time was spent training and deployed. So I was a 50 cal gunner in Iraq and Afghanistan, and my job was to search for IEDs and EFPs, tripwires, stuff like that. And I was the lead gunner in Iraq in 2008. So if I missed an IED, my people die, you know, and it's usually not going to be me. It's going to be the truck behind us. So I have people's lives in my hands constantly, and I was only 20 years old. So, you know, imagine, you know, driving around looking for bombs, knowing that you have 18 people's lives in your hands, you know. So it's a little stressful. I got back from the deployment, and I was not, I'd say that's where my PTSD started. Just because like I couldn't drive for like the first month that I was home. I had to have my wife drive me to work. Just I couldn't do it, man. They ended up putting me on the desk because I couldn't drive in a car because I was just fucked up. So I got some help, and it didn't really help. So kept deployed again in 2010, January 6, 2010. I got a call on base for shots fired. And so I went to the base housing, and I got flagged over. Come to find out, an Army guy had gotten ready for work. This was up in Balad Air Base up in northern Iraq. He got ready for work, but he had been getting picked on and everything. I got the backstory later, but he lay down on his bed, and he shot himself through the bottom of the chin to the top of the head with an M16. But he was still alive when I walked in the door. So I came in, and I held his hand, and I just put my hand in his chest, and I kind of just looked at him and was like, "Hey man, it's going to be all right. Just let go." So I held his hand while he died. And getting back from that deployment, while you're there, it's not that bad, but we got mortared 186 times in 186 days. Every single day we got mortared while we were up there. And so when I say that, it means every day we got mortared. That doesn't mean how many. So we got hit, 9, 10 times in a day sometimes. So you're literally walking, and you hear these sirens going off, and that usually means that a mortar's coming in. You get to the point where you just don't care anymore. You just keep walking, keep doing your thing. You're supposed to run and jump into a bunker, because a mortar, when it lands, it shoots up in a mushroom cloud at like a 15 meters, like an angle. So if you jump down to the ground and you're 15 meters or more away, you'll be okay. If you're within that 15 meters, it's a pretty good chance you're going to die. So that's the lifestyle you get used to. And then in Afghanistan in 2010, 2011, 2012, we were up in Bagram. We were the first Air Force squad to have 10-mile radius around Bagram Air Base. And so we were driving around, driving in the streets of Afghanistan. We were Air Force, so that's really big for a lot of people. Like, they don't understand, why is Air Force driving around, doing convoys. I tell people all the time, I was a 50 cal gun. They're like, "What? You were in the Air Force?" I was like, "Yeah, security force is a little different." So you get back from all that, and it just drives you nuts. And, shortly after that, I found out, again, I just want to preface this. Me and my ex get along just fine, but I found out she was cheating on me while I was deployed. So I lost my shit, and, everything just got worse. Ended up leaving, got back, got out of the military 2012. Me and her got back together because she was pregnant with my second kid. So I figured it was the right thing to do. That was the wrong thing to do. We were together for like 3 years after that. We just hated each other. So us separating is probably the best thing to do. But 2015 was really when Warrior's Next Adventure has its story, where it begins. I was depressed. I was an alcoholic. I hated my life. I didn't want to be around my kids. Me and my ex did not get along. And I found out again that she was cheating on me. So it's all this crap. And then a bunch of my buddies from overseas had killed themselves. So it's just, you're just constantly dealing with death and depression, and you're just like, fuck it, I quit. So I took a canoe trip up to northern Minnesota, the Boundary Waters, and I put a 9mm up to my head, and I pulled the trigger. But luckily, the primer was struck, but I had been kayaking, so there was a lot of moisture in the chamber. So the primer was actually a dud. So I sat there crying, trying to figure out what the hell just happened to me, right?
Yeah.
So I dropped the magazine, pulled the slide back, and I examined the bullet. And the primer was actually, it's indented to the point, I don't know if you know anything about shooting, but when that primer's indented. It's supposed to go off.
Yeah.
And I just threw it in the water, and I just sat there for probably 3 or 4 hours. I loaded the magazine back, pulled the slide, and I shot all 19 rounds off into the lake. So the one round that was supposed to go off didn't. Got back from that trip, and I hadn't really decided whether me and my ex were actually going to separate. So I called her. I was like, hey, I'm leaving. And next call was to my coach. He was going to Brazil to get his black belt. And so I was like, hey, man, I'm going with you. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going with you. He's like, fuck yeah, man. So we went down to Brazil. It was the greatest day. It was amazing. 2000, and when I got back from that trip, I decided I'm going to be a fighter again, because that woman's the one that made me quit MMA, made me quit jiu-jitsu. I had been training jiu-jitsu a little bit in 2014 with Mark, and then kind of off and on, but I was drinking a lot, so my motivation and dedication wasn't really there. And so after this, I decided to dedicate myself. We got a divorce in November. My very first fight back was in December 2015, and I ended up winning my fight in 1 minute and 12 seconds with an armbar. It was amazing. It felt so good. I felt like Superman. So shortly after that, I started practicing Buddhism. I wanted to look into it and see what it was all about. I wouldn't say I'm a Buddhist. I swear too much, and I like meat. So, you know, I like the way of life. I like the mindset. And so I started studying suicide. I started studying depression. I started studying, you know, any veterans issues. I started focusing on not to learn how to help other veterans, but to learn how to help myself. I was like, I need to fix myself. Something's not right. I went to therapy a few times, and it wasn't for me. I don't tell people they shouldn't go. I think everybody should go and try. But I started noticing the things that worked for me was recreational therapy. So if you don't know what recreational therapy is, it can literally be defined as anything, any kind of like activity that, you know, that makes you calm or feels therapeutic, right? So jiu-jitsu is a recreational therapy. You know,
works
MMA
for me, man.
yeah, so it's amazing. And so anybody, even not non-veterans, this stuff applies to everybody. Jiu-jitsu literally, it feels so good, right? So that was just one of my healing processes. And then obviously fighting too. So the more and more I fought, the better I felt about myself. My ego started to drop. I started to have a lot less anger inside of me. And then I ended up taking a trip out to Sturgis in 2018. It was shortly after I got knocked out and I got a TBI, and I thought I had to quit MMA forever and jiu-jitsu and everything. So I quit completely. And so I had a lot of cognitive issues. I couldn't talk very well for about 6 months. I still can't see. My vision is it's garbage.
Yeah.
Wow. 90-year-olds got better vision than me. And then there's a lot of other issues like memory loss, and sometimes I'll forget what I'm saying mid-sentence. So that really sucks, trying to run a business and remembering people's names that you just made. So I kept traveling, and I started noticing that all of these travels that I did, I ran into veterans, and we had these amazing conversations, because I'm the guy that's going to push you to have a real conversation. Not like, hey, did you see the Vikings game or something like that? No, I was like, hey, are you happy? You'd be surprised at how many people are just like, what? They don't know how to answer that question. You know, and they're just like, why are you even talking to me about this? It's like, oh, I'm just curious. Like, are you happy? Do you generally feel happy in life? And so, like, I started noticing some of these questions that I was asking these guys that were just blowing their minds, because they're like, I never thought about that. You know, they're working dead-end jobs. They're in relationships that just don't do it for them. They have no adventure in their life. They're literally doing fucking nothing. They're just doing what society tells us to do, is go to work, go home, you know, spend money on crap. You know, I started noticing that a lot of people were going down that path. Not everybody, but I ended up going to Hawaii in 2019. Long story short, when I went to Brazil, I met a Brazilian model. She ended up moving to the United States. We got married. She got her green card, and then she left 4 days later in 2018. So,
Jesus.
yeah, it sucks, but, you know, I was with a Brazilian model for, 3 years, so I'm okay. You got to look at the plus
that
side.
part doesn't suck.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I don't have any hard feelings for her. I hope she's doing all right. I have no idea where she's at. I don't really care, but I'm lucky enough to have a awesome woman now. But I had thought, like, what am I going to do? You know, so I ended up buying myself a vacation to Hawaii as a divorce present to myself. So in 2019, I was in Brazil, in Hawaii, and I camped around the island. I didn't stay in a hotel. I literally slept in a tent under the stars for 8 days straight. It was great. I ended up meeting some friends, and they told me, I told them this story, but it was obviously much more in depth. It was probably a 4-hour conversation. And they're like, you need to start a blog. And I'm just like, a blog? They're like, you need to tell your stories. You know, your stories are awesome. You know, the triumph and all the sadness and failure, and you have so many amazing stories. You need to start telling them. So Ryan and Alex from Ryan and Alex Dual Life are the ones that convinced me to do it. So when I got back from Hawaii, my intention for Warriors Next Adventure was a travel blog for veterans. I was going to travel. I wasn't going to make it a business or anything. It was just a website. I was going to travel, and I was going to write about my travels, and I was going to tell veterans why they need to explore, why we need adventure in our lives, right? I mean, that's where the adventure came from for Warriors Next Adventure. You know, what makes you happy, right? For me, it's travel, it's conversation. And so I started taking veterans with me. So this was months. Like, it wasn't years. It was literally months. I took a bunch of vets up to go climb Eagle Mountain in northern Minnesota, and these guys had a great time, you know, and I'm not going to get too in depth because I try to keep people's stuff to themselves. You know, it's not about telling other people's stories. But there were some extremely emotional, deep conversations on this mountain climb. And then I started doing some research. There's a lady, I can't remember her name. There's a professor over at Harvard that did a study on you know what EMDR is? So like the eye movement therapy.
Okay.
So it's like a left right movement. And so when you're hiking and doing stuff like that, the left right movement of your feet, what it's doing is essentially, to dumb it down, you're recording over an old memory with a new memory. That old memory's still there, but now it's tied to a good memory. So when I was taking these guys hiking, I was talking to them about their traumas, right? And so these guys would tell me about, you know, one guy was in Fallujah. If you don't know anything about Iraq, Fallujah was like one of the deadliest places to be. He was telling me about that. I had another guy telling me about 911 dispatcher, you know, listening to people die on the radio or die on the phone, you know. I mean, I think every 911 dispatcher has done that. I'm a 911 dispatcher for the Minnesota State Patrol during my day job. So, I mean, I've heard 3 people die on the phone with me. So that's more trauma, right? Wow. So you don't think that it's that bad. But then it's like you break down and you lose everything, right? And so because these all started to be successful and veterans started giving me great feedback, I'm like, I'm going to make this a nonprofit. 2 months later, I was in New York climbing the highest mountain peak in New York. And so I decided we're going to do what's called the WNA Top 50. We're going to climb all the highest mountain peaks in all 50 states. And so I'm going to take veterans with me. And we had 8 guys climbing the mountain. And then I got back. The day I got back, I got my 501c3 approval letter. And so I was like, this is what I need to do with my life. And then it just kept evolving, man. Like now we play with wolves. I have a race car.
I was going to ask you about that stuff. Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about a month ago. But looking through your Instagram, I see a race car. I see you somebody sitting next to a wolf. I'm like, oh wow, this is crazy. Talk to us a little bit about. Let's start with the wolves. And I know you take them to. I know you. We spoke one time. You're like, yeah, I'm heading up to these waterfalls right now. But let's start with the wolves. What the heck is that like? How did that come together?
So I have different projects, right? That project is called Operation Wolf Dog. So one of my troopers has a sister up in northern Minnesota who actually owns hybrid wolves. So they're all wolf dogs. So they're all like timber wolf, Alaskan gray wolf mixed with like shepherd or something like that. And so I went up there just to go check them out. And I'm like, hey, what would you think about doing some kind of therapy with veterans? And she's like, yes, that would be amazing. And so they're called Minnesota Wolf Dogs. They're up in northern Minnesota. These guys are awesome. You know, check them out on Facebook. But I go up there, and what we do is I take some of the funding from Warriors Next Adventure, and I buy wood. We built 2 dog houses out there. We put up probably 250 feet of fencing. So we're expanding their areas. And then I personally actually got to go rescue a wolf. So Kaya reached out to me. She said, hey, we have a wolf down in Wisconsin Dells that's due for euthanasia. We need to go get him Friday. Like, we need to get him now. So I'm like, I'm in, screw it. So we drove out there and we actually got to rescue this wolf. So he lived outside with no shelter on a chain. The worst thing in the
wow.
world, because people think, yeah, wolves live outside. No, they live in dens. They actually have shelter. This wolf had no shelter. So we started walking up to him, and he was really aggressive. And so I don't really have a lot of fear anymore. I kind of get excited by fear now. So I do things that scare me because they're fun now. So I started backing up to this wolf, and they're like, careful, he bites. I'm like, I'm not worried about it. So I started backing up to the point where he couldn't reach me with his leash. And then I slowly started backing up, and I could smell him sniffing my leg. I was like, man, I'm about to get attacked. I was like, oh shit. So I slowly start to turn around, and he jumped on me, and he hooked his claws on. So a lot of wolves, what they'll do is they'll try to dominate you right away to try to tell you like, hey, I'm the boss. So I grabbed him by the neck, and I grabbed him by the side, and I threw him down to the ground, and I pinned him down, and I started petting him really quick, just to let him know, hey, I'm bigger than you, but I'm a friend. And so within seconds, he was jumping around and playing with me, licking my face. And the problem with a lot of these wolves, what they'll do is they'll nip at your beard, and they'll pull little hairs out of your beard. So I've had half my beard ripped out once just because these guys grab onto it and rip it off. Wow. But we brought him back, and we actually built his shelter. So what these veterans get to do is this is the whole core of why we're doing this, right? Have you ever volunteered and actually have either built something for somebody or have given somebody something?
But lots of donations. Can't say I've gone out and built a fence or built a wolf sanctuary or a house.
Yeah.
So not too many people can say they've done what you've done. Right?
So you get that feeling of accomplishment, right? You get that feeling of actually seeing yourself help somebody else experience something new. So like I was hearing you guys say you give donation, or you guys give jiu-jitsu fees,
youth scholarships. We're doing
that's
youth
awesome.
Scholarships, yeah.
So what you're doing is you're providing a life experience for somebody, and so that's what I'm all about, is providing life experiences. But also what happens during these life experiences. So whenever I get a veteran inside of a cage with a wolf, crouching down, staring at a wolf, there's no cages between us. We actually go inside and we play with them and pet them and feed them hot dogs out of our hands. The first time they see these guys, I usually bring them in the cage with Diesel. Diesel's the alpha. When he stands up, he puts his paws on my shoulder. Like I said, I'm 6'1", 6'2". He's taller than me.
Wow.
So he's a big wolf, and he's thick too. So I usually bring him in there too because he's more intimidating. So I just want to see their reaction because I think it's funny. So they usually go in there just terrified to go anywhere near him. And what he does is he runs around the cage just to let you know, hey, this is my cage. I'm boss. There's another girl. I think her name is Lula or Kalua. I can't remember what her name is. She's scared, so she'll just run. And he's got a little ramp. And so I'll go over to the ramp. I'll tap the ramp, and he'll jump up. He'll let me pet him, and then I'll feed him a hot dog. Once I kind of calm him down a little bit, I make the veteran, I was like, hey, come up here. Come on. Put your hand down. Just let him smell you. And usually he'll like walk up. But Diesel's face is like 3 of mine, and his snout is long as shit. And he could probably fit my head in his mouth. He's a big wolf. So what's happening here is these veterans are getting vulnerable. Right, they're letting their guard down a little bit. Their guard's up initially because they're scared of wolf, but they're letting their guard down finally when they actually get to embrace a wolf, which is something that people just dream of, right?
Yeah.
So I get to see these guys do this amazing stuff, right? And what that does is it keys all kinds of chemicals inside your brain, right? You get the dopamine, you get the serotonin, you're getting everything you want, right? And so instead of like drugs or alcohol, you're getting highs based off of nature. And so I get you in that elevated state, and then you're super vulnerable. And then I start sharing about some of the things that I've been through. And then next thing you know, they're telling me about how they tried to kill themselves 4 years ago. Or they are an alcoholic, or they struggle with PTSD or seasonal depression. There's a lot of crazy things that veterans are struggling with that they don't talk about. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm putting them into vulnerable situations, so it's easier for them to talk.
Wow.
And so the wolves provide us that.
Wow.
But then at the same time, you get to help build a shelter for an animal, and you get to give another being a better life. So it's a win-win.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the where do you want to go? Waterfalls or race car? Which one?
Well, we just go hiking sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and, if I need an adventure or something like that, I'll call a bunch of dudes, be like, hey, do you want to go hiking to this waterfall with me? And I'll usually get like 5 or 6 people, and we'll go hike to a waterfall, or we'll go, rock climbing. We just do all kinds of crazy stuff. Our next project, or one of our other projects, is the WNA Top 50 with the mountain climbing, like I told you before. And then we also have what I created was the WNA BJJ. So that's the big one. That's the big reason why I wanted to talk to you guys too. Mainly because I like your podcast. I listen to one with TJ. TJ has been on mine too. He's great.
Yeah,
guy.
awesome dude, man.
He explains jiu-jitsu and the healing process to veterans better than I do. He's awesome. So jiu-jitsu is such a huge part of my healing process. I was just like, okay, well, how do I incorporate the nonprofit with jiu-jitsu? And so I called Coach. His name is, again, Mark. He was an Air Force veteran. So I started talking to him about it. I was like, would you mind if I brought some veterans in here every once in a while just so they could experience jiu-jitsu? He's like, absolutely. And so he lets me sell some rash guards out of his gym too. He's like, he's awesome. He's so supportive of what I'm doing. And I started realizing, I was like, there's a lot of veterans who have similar stories, how jiu-jitsu has been the baseline of how they've healed themselves from PTSD. Not just veterans though, like, civilians even, they have bad jobs. You see felons rolling with cops. You'll see, vegans rolling with meat eaters.
Holy crap.
I know, right? It's people from every aspect getting together. And so I actually was talking to my buddy Stefan. Stefan's a black Dutch guy. So just an anomaly of a weird mixture, but he's from South America to make things even weirder. I told him, I was like, man, you were my first civilian friend. I was like, and it took me 1.5 years. And that's when I started training jiu-jitsu. I was like, you were my first civilian friend. I was like, I fucking love you, man. I was like, I'm pretty sure I have the same love for you than I do with my buddies overseas. Me and him are the weirdos on the mat who are literally having a full-on conversation while we're trying to murder each other.
My favorite roles. I'm a talker when I roll. I do too. Definitely love to talk.
I like to talk a little shit, only if I know you, because I don't want to be mean, because I'm a nice guy, but I do like to fuck with people. When I started to realize that, I started forming bonds with civilians through jiu-jitsu, and that's how I started to actually get better at forming bonds. So veterans have a hard time meshing into society, and for some reason we have such a hard time getting along with civilians. It's just the different mindsets, and so it's not right. It's not okay. Veterans are no better than civilians. That's one thing that a lot of people need to understand. We don't have any extra rights than you do. Maybe just some discounts at Applebee's.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like it's not fair for veterans to feel that way. And so one of the things I'm trying to do is incorporate civilians into the nonprofit as well, because I want veterans to understand, look, you can be friends with more people than just veterans. It's just the feeling of loneliness is so prevalent in the military community. And it's like there's people everywhere. Veterans can feel completely alone in a room full of 100 people. I don't get it. I mean, I even experienced the same thing, and I still don't get it, and so what I wanted to do is get veterans in the gym training with civilians as well. We're all a new brotherhood. Jiu-jitsu is the closest thing I've had to a brotherhood since I left the military. And I have bonds in jiu-jitsu that are, just as close as the ones in the military.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what, there's got to be other veterans who have amazing stories. I went from being suicidal and tried to kill myself in 2015 to 2018. I was a 3rd ranked welterweight MMA fighter in Minnesota, amateur. But that's pretty fucking sweet, right? I got a title shot, and I got a fight of the night. It was awesome. So I took myself from the lowest low, and I built it up into a success story. I feel successful because I've had many, many veterans tell me that they love what I'm doing, and it's given them hope. And that, if that's not, if that doesn't entitle success, I mean, when somebody tells you that something you put together gave them hope, there's nothing more addicting than that. There's nothing that makes me happier than that. And so that's why I'm going to continue to do this, longer, as long as I live.
So how does the documentary tie into all of this? Is that, are you documenting Warriors Next? Is this something different? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So think of it as Warriors Next Adventure is the studio, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to travel around the country for like 65, 70 days. I'm starting in April in 2021. We're supposed to do it this year, but COVID kind of screwed all that up. Mm-hmm. So we're starting in Montana. I'm leaving from Minnesota, going to Montana. We're going to be at Malmstrom Air Force Base. I'm actually getting a bunch of the Air Force Security Forces squadrons to come out. I'm actually going to do a speech to the airmen about resiliency and talking about how when you're at your lowest low, you need to reach out and actually look for the person who's going to help you. 2015, I decided that I wanted to be better. And so I tried to figure out who I'm going to be in my life. And I said, I want to be the person I wish I would have had when I tried to kill myself. And so I feel like I'm getting there. I don't feel like I'm ever really going to be quite there. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give these speeches to some of the Air Force bases as I go around. I got to get them all set up still. So what we're going to do is it's going to be a seminar style. I have like 37 different jiu-jitsu gyms around the country that are going to be hosting. It's going to be a seminar style get together. I'm going to just give a quick speech about the nonprofit and about how jiu-jitsu can be helpful towards, veterans and healing PTSD. And every single gym has agreed to do an open mat with a push to try to get as many veterans inside that gym as possible in each location. So the goal is getting a bunch of veterans training jiu-jitsu. So if I can get one veteran every trip to sign up at that gym, I'll be happy. I want to get more, but and so what I'm doing is I reached out to a bunch of veterans. I posted on the Blue Belt Mafia. Are you on that page?
Probably. I can't say that it rings a bell. But,
There's so many
groups. We're all following each other and.
Yeah. So I went to a bunch of those. There's like where veterans train or where we train, and then there was the Armed Forces Martial Arts Network. I got booted from that group. I don't know why. Yeah. So I reached out and said, hey, there's plenty of veterans out there who have PTSD who have used jiu-jitsu to heal themselves or at least get to a better spot. I was like, I'm looking for these veterans. I told them I want to do a documentary based off of veterans and how PTSD is a viable, approach to fighting PTSD. So it's going to be called PTSD versus Jiu-Jitsu, Fight for Your Life. We're going to be going to, it's like 18,000 miles that we got to drive to actually get this whole thing done in 60 days. It's probably going to go more, but we're going to be, I'm going to be just rolling and training and everything like that. We're going to have some footage of that, but there's actually going to be a one-on-one interview. It's going to be kind of like a podcast style interview. And what we're going to do is these veterans are going to tell their stories. They're going to tell their stories about how they either tried to kill themselves or they OD'd on alcohol, on drugs. We had one person get in a near fatal car accident. One person literally was holding a gun to his head and got a phone call from his daughter. It's just some amazing, just horrible stories. And I promise everybody who watches this documentary is going to cry. I promise you that. Which that's honestly my goal.
Me, I was gonna say I'm a crybaby. I'll be one of those guys.
Yeah, this isn't the lightest podcast, sorry.
No, this is great. We do some stuff with We Defy, and this is my typically I usually have my co-host Junior and Miguel, who are both veterans, in the studio. Raul, who is one of our original co-hosts, who's always welcome back to the show, but all Army Marine guys. So this is close to our heart, and it's why we got involved with We Defy, and that's probably how kind of we found each other, right? We started following each other because of that relationship. I think right around the time we had TJ on from We Defy. So listen, I love talking about this, and I think we've got a lot of people in the military that obviously do jiu-jitsu anyway, but are also following us and watching because they are involved with We Defy, or they're this stuff is. I get lots of great feedback when we're talking about this stuff. So it's not so dark. I mean, there's a lot of people out there right now saying, "Wow, I was there." And they're on their Instagram going "Warriors next."
You think about it like this. It's I've had one of my veterans told me is like, you were a cage fighter. You fucking, you do all this man shit. You can work on cars. You carpenter, all this shit. But you're talking about your feelings. He's like, you're fucking with people's heads.
Yeah.
I was like, good. We need to break the stigma. There is a stigma with mental health, and I think it's getting better. I really do. So if anybody can talk about it, there's some of the most bad people in the world. I just did a podcast with one of the SEAL Team 6 members, and we were talking about this. And one of his things he does is go around and talking to people about PTSD and how people need to be vulnerable and they need to reach out, talk, and talk about it. Talk about your problems or your past. And so the reason why I decided to share my story is because, you know, it helped save a veteran's life. I was working dispatch in 2017, and we got a 911 phone call, and she said, I'm going to kill myself. And so we have cameras on the interstate. So I work for the state patrol. So we do all the highways, and her GPS showed up right next to a camera, and I pulled it up on camera. Sure enough, there she was standing on a bridge. I was literally watching the woman I'm talking to stand on a bridge saying she's going to kill herself.
Wow.
And so I'm like, fuck, here we go. I love these calls. It sounds messed up, but I love these calls because that is literally life and death. If you do not say the right thing, that person's going to jump. And unfortunately, I've had it happen. So I was talking to her, and we just started bullshitting, and then she ended up saying, I'm an Army veteran. I'm like, yes. I was like, that's my connection. So, you know, in any kind of negotiation, you need to relate. And so I started telling her, I was like, hey, I'm a veteran too. Where were you deployed to? Where were you stationed? Come to find out, she was actually she was raped in the military. Sexual military trauma was her big thing. She never talked about it. She said, I think you're the first person I've ever told this. She's like, I just wanted to say it before I died. And I was like, listen, I was like, you know, I got to tell you something. And so I had never told anybody that I tried to kill myself. Never. So this is 2017. 2 years had gone by with me holding this secret. And so I finally told her, I was like, listen, you know, 2015, I actually tried to kill myself. I put a gun in my head and I pulled the trigger and it didn't go off. And I was like, I've been trying to find the reason why I'm still alive. And I was like, I think this might be it, you know? So as you can tell, I still get emotional when I tell that story, but it's like, what better purpose in life, you know, and then reaching out and trying to help your brothers, right? And I developed a system where I actually get to do that. But it's not only just me now. Everybody who's a part of this nonprofit is now a branch. You know, Warriors Next Adventure is branching out constantly. Every time we make a new connection, that new connection gives me a new connection. They give me a new connection. But at the same time, I put it on them. Like, listen, you need to reach out to your brothers too. You know, we're all a family. I can't be everywhere, you know, and I'm not perfect. You know, maybe somebody just doesn't get along with me. And so my way of therapy or counseling isn't going to work for them. So we all need to reach out. We need to help each other. And so, yeah, it's just, I started telling my story. Once all these jiu-jitsu guys started telling me their stories, it's just like, it's really fucking sad how many people have tried to kill themselves that have never told anybody. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to tell these stories. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to tell these stories.
What is that what the documentary is going to focus on? I mean, you said you're going to all 50 states, or you're going to not all 50?
No, it's 37 different gyms. We'll be going through probably like 45 states or something like that.
And
so
these
you're
guys will tell me those. Yeah, you're going to have those interviews. You're going to have those talks on this documentary. Okay.
Yeah, so these guys will tell me their stories, and then they'll tell me about how they found jiu-jitsu and how jiu-jitsu's helped them, and then where they're at now mentally. And then what they would recommend to somebody that's debating on training jiu-jitsu or a veteran who's struggling. So the focus is going to be PTSD, right? Not necessarily combat. I mean, there's all, you know, a lot of people don't understand the number one leading cause of PTSD is car accidents. It's not combat. Combat's a pretty small portion, actually. So there's veterans who have gotten severe car accidents and have nearly lost their lives. There's been overdose, rape, all kinds of crazy shit that I've already talked to these guys, and I've already pre-interviewed all of them. There's some powerful stories there going to be coming out. And so the reason why I'm doing this is to bring overall awareness, but also there's no documentaries out there right now about veterans and PTSD. So the reason why I ended up reaching out to We Defy, which I'm a We Defy ambassador as well, I said, hey, I want you guys to be involved in this. I was like, this is right down your alley. You know, jiu-jitsu is a small portion of my nonprofit. Jiu-jitsu is all of yours. So I was like, I want you guys to be a part of this, and I want you guys to be the main sponsor. I was like, I don't want a dime, and I'm going to give you 10% of the earnings that we make on the GoFundMe, because we're using a GoFundMe to fund this whole thing. So we're donating. Once we get done with the whole thing and all the process is done, 10% of all proceeds are going to go to We Defy, and all they have to do is just open up their gyms. I'm not going to only We Defy gyms, but I'm going to have a We Defy ambassador at every gym. There's a couple that'll have Mission 22 because that gym that gym reps Mission 22. So there's nothing wrong with that. So there's no like specification that it has to be We Defy. However, there's so many We Defy athletes and people who support We Defy all around the country. So I was like, I want you guys to come on this journey with me. I'll do all the work. You guys just gotta, just talk about it. That's it. So it works for marketing for me, but also it gets more veterans looking at it to see, hey, this documentary could actually help a lot of people. So my goal is, once I get it edited, I want to try to enter it into the Sundance Film Festival. And if you make it in there, you actually qualify for Netflix. So Netflix is my goal. And then 100% of the proceeds are going to go to Warriors Next Adventure.
That's awesome, man. And send me, or, you can, after this, we can just chat and send me the GoFundMe link so that I can share it on the video. We'll put it on screen right now. And that'd be awesome. We'll also we'll put it in the description on the podcast and on YouTube. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
How are you guys doing on the money raise right now? How are you doing?
Last I checked, for that, it's right about $2,000. Okay. I got another veteran of mine who's reaching out to a family friend who's actually looking for a camper. Okay. I was going to get a camper van from Voyager Campers, but now I actually might have one or two veterans come with me on this whole trip. So that'd be awesome. So they're looking for a camper, but we still need money for gas. We need money just in case we need to stay at a hotel or an Airbnb. We need to eat. Food is good.
Yeah.
So we're looking for sponsors too. I'm actually reaching out to, there's a nationwide gym, and I can't really say who they are right now because I don't really know if the deal is going to go through, but there's a nationwide gym that I'm actually working on. They're like one of the biggest fitness gyms in the world. So I'm hoping they can jump on as a sponsor, and maybe they'll sponsor the whole thing. That'd be amazing. That'd be great. Because that would cut off costs from the nonprofit too. So
yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned, and I'm real curious about this. Bo and I were talking a little bit about this before. Significant others. You're married. You're remarried. You are married now, or his girlfriend?
I'm not. No, the girl that I'm with is probably one of the most awesome women I've ever met. She's a bodybuilder, and we do like acro yoga together.
Okay.
Do you know what acro yoga is?
Is that where you kind of balance on each other?
It's like acrobatic yoga and everything. And so she like pushes me with my nutrition and everything like that. And I had some issues with my heart, so she pretty much beat me into going to the VA and getting my stuff done. So
what'd you have with your heart? Because I had a heart attack a couple of years ago. Got 4 stents.
They think that it's tied to the burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay. So I have the valve that leads to my heart isn't working properly. And then I have like severe lung capacity issues. I also have sleep apnea on top of PTSD, and they think it's all linked together. So if I run more than like 5 minutes, I damn near pass out. It sucks.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that affect your jiu-jitsu?
To be honest, if I'm warmed up, I'm okay. So usually we do like a warm up, then we drill, and then we roll for like the last 30 minutes. I do just fine, which is really strange. I mean, I can climb mountains and everything like that, but I'll just be sitting at work one day, and the next thing you know, I'll have a heart palpitation. I'll damn near pass out. It's like, what is happening?
Wow, yeah. I know for me, my cardio sucks. I just got back into the gym a couple weeks ago, but my cardio has always sucked. I won't make any excuses, but I know that I've been able to, like I tell people, like I'll run and I'll be like the warm ups. I'm like, it's killing me. I can't wait to just drill and roll, because I can control that a little bit. I'm 235. I'm 5'11", 235, so I can control their movement and mind, and I can kind of control the pace, I should say.
You guys are like
smash jitsu going on.
You guys are like two 1972 Buicks. Takes about an hour to warm them up,
I thought he was going to say like 70-year-old men like talking about, I got this hard. It's like funny when I call my parents, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Oh, well, this hurts, that hurts. I got a root canal. That's what we sound like right now. But I can control the pace, and that's why like people, wow, you're like, I love when I outroll. Doesn't happen all the time, and I did just get back in the gym, but I love when I outroll the youngsters. I love when I roll and don't take a break. Again, like maybe we do like half hour of rolls, or Saturday and Sunday are open mats at my gym. Yeah. So it's usually we might drill. Today it was just all rolling. So I love when I roll and the young, because we do a family jiu-jitsu, so like the kids, there's little kids up to, you know, grown men. I'm 47, so I'm probably one of the older guys there. And I love when I see the kids just sitting on the wall. I'm like, and when I see them sitting on the wall, I'm like, I can't take a break. I'm going to show them. But again, you know, controlling the pace is how I can get through it. And I usually, a 5-minute run will kill me, but you know, half hour's worth of rolling and I'm fine. It's just the weirdest
really
thing.
Strange, man. Like if I don't get my warm up, I need a warm up. If I have a warm up, I'm good. I can literally roll. I can roll for an hour if I need to. Yeah, which is really strange, you know. But we have a lot of young bucks at our gym too. So we got some old wrestlers, which those guys always suck to roll with. Yeah. But we got a bunch of just killers, a couple guys that lift a lot, and so they're smashing the shit out of you. So it's like you can't give them an inch because the next thing you know, they're just gonna crush you, you know. Yeah. And so I let these guys just wear themselves out, and I'll just cover up and I'll roll around and stuff, and I'll just wait till they screw up and I'll just catch them real quick. And I'm just like, man, I ain't gonna try against you. Screw that.
I was coaching a woman. She's probably close to my age. I'm not gonna try to guess her age. Purple belt. Yeah. She was asking me today. She's newer in our gym. I don't think she's just coming from the open mats. But again, I've been out for a while, so I've been seeing her at our at practice. And she asked me today. She's like, hey, you know, how do I counter like guys trying to pass her guard and like kind of smashing her legs? And I was just like, wrist locks. I was like, sneaky submissions. And then I told her my story. I said, look, I'm 47, had a heart attack a few years ago. And anytime I'm out and I come back, I make sure I kind of like, I brush up on my like wrist lock YouTube videos. And look, the best thing you can Google is, or search on YouTube is sneaky BJJ submissions. And it's just having a few little tricks. And like, you know, with wrist locks, I'm not trying to, like it's usually just threatening the wrist lock usually opens up something else for me. So I was telling her that, but then we got into like the lockdown and the electric chair a little bit, which my coach is a big fan of. So I was showing her, she was like, look, when they smash you, I'm like, get the lockdown. And that's going to save you at least from, and, you know, I showed her the kind of sweeps and stuff that I use. Again, coach is huge with the lockdown. But I was showing her, I said, look, the sneaky stuff is how I get by with the young guys. Like you mentioned wrestlers. We got a few new guys in the gym since I've been away, a couple of wrestlers. And and I'm not going to wrist lock a white belt, but I'll show them that it's there.
Yeah, I do.
I'll show them that it's there. I'll threaten it, or, you know, I'll kind of give them a little, you know, just like, hey, you know, just, again, let them know it's there. And they usually get a little sidetracked.
I used to just grab it and I go, okay, tap.
It's frowned upon in my gym to do that, to do it. But let me say, when the coach isn't there,
our gym's really big on wrist locks. So
yeah.
Pretty well known that if you come in there's going to be a wrist lock thrown once or twice.
Yeah. Okay.
Prison rules.
That was my advice to her. I said, look, okay, we worked on a couple of things. I answered some of her questions, but I said, look, wrist locks, like when, you know, they're smashing you, where are their hands? Where are their hands? What are you grabbing? And it's not necessarily always getting it. It's threatening it. And then usually they have to move and then you can react. Just know that you're using it to open up something else.
One of the things I tell a lot of my new guys is jiu-jitsu is like magic. They're like, what? I was like, I know it sounds stupid, but it's smoke and mirrors, you know? So one of my favorite setups is we do a double shrimp. So a salmon guard. I love being on my back. So I'll grab opposite lapel, and then I'll grab the sleeve and I'll shrimp, and then I'll shrimp to the other side. And what I'll do is I'll be on my side. So the same arm that I have, I'll be on my side, and my knee goes over their shoulder and pins their shoulder down. And then what I do is I'll reach up and I'll start going for their lapel. And they usually think I'm going for a choke, but really I'm just waiting for them to extend their arm a little bit more. And I just tap them with an arm bar. Yeah. Or if they roll their arm back a little bit, you can get an omoplata. And so I'll pull that. So I'm always going for chokes, but I never go for the choke. I'm going for an arm bar. Yeah. Because arm bars are my thing. There's an arm bar at my gym that my coach dubbed the Rahn bar. And it's because I got long legs. You got your move. Right? And, yeah, so like I do the double shrimp and I pull them into me. So a lot of times what they'll do is their arm's available. My leg can reach all the way over their body, hook underneath their arm, and then I trap my leg over their head underneath their arm. And then what I'll do is I'll roll them and extend them out, or I can just tap them right there.
Those are not.
I'm sneaky.
Those are not blue belt moves. You're not a blue belt.
Like I said, I've been training since 2007. So I just had a bunch of breaks, and I switched gyms twice too. So I mean, I get it, but I mean, it's not up to me to decide what belt I am. So I just show up, I roll, I choke the shit out of everybody, and I go home.
I want to be a purple belt as long as I can be a purple belt, so that that people underestimate you. It's
and it's all my fights and everything like that. I told everybody in 2015 before my first fight back, I was 1-0 at the time, and I was like, I will be the best jiu-jitsu fighter in Minnesota. And so, of course, that's a huge
huge statement.
Yeah, so I was like, fuck
statement, yeah.
I won it. And so my first fight back, I won in 1 minute 12 seconds with an armbar. I hit him with one uppercut, and I split his head open from he's got like a Harry Potter scar on his head now. He came into me, and he was short. He was like maybe 5'8", and we fought at 170 pounds. So he was thick. But he picked me up. He's so little, he got underneath my arms, and he suplexed me. But when he suplexed me, he left his arm out there, and I do this rollover arm bar. It's kind of, I don't really know how to explain it. So I kind of roll over their shoulder, and what I do is I rotate their arm. So if you don't roll, I'm going to dislocate your shoulder, and then I pop his elbow out of socket.
Bo, just so you know, because but my producer doesn't train. We're trying to get him on the mat. Bo, these are not blue belt moves. you're not allowed to learn this. You will not learn these moves at white belt.
By the time I get into this, I'm going straight from white belt to black belt.
I'm going to watch this back, and I'm going to start Googling some of this. I'll be on YouTube right after the show.
Well, hey man, I still have I extended my trip out like another week or two, and I'm gonna be in Florida. I don't have a gym to train at yet. Where are you guys staying? Where you guys?
We are in Coral Springs. My whole crew, all the hosts of the show, anybody that's been on, that's been a co-host, we all train at Fight Sports in Coral Springs, which is...
You guys want to see if maybe you guys want to host one of the
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Junior and I are both We Defy ambassadors. I mean, all we have to do is talk to the coach.
We should do an episode in person.
Yeah, we can do. My coach is pretty awesome. He's been on the show. He's let me film. We filmed our GoFundMe in the gym. Nice. Look, I mean, he's a great guy, and he's a businessman. He likes the exposure. I mean, we should definitely talk about it and see what we could figure out. Again, he's got, we've got a lot of military guys in our gym that I know that would be there and invite their friends. Nice. And, we're about 10 minutes from American Top Team, the Coconut Creek American Top Team. That's right around the corner.
I trained there when I was in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And I got destroyed by one of their fucking killers. They have a purple belt there. And he just no, he's a brown belt.
Were they in the really big building, or were they in like an industrial park at that time?
It was weird because there was like a big movie room. Yeah, I think it was the big building.
It's old. Like how many years ago was it that you were here?
This was back in 2018.
Okay, yeah. So we're in the new facility. They built that.
So right when you walk in, you go to your left, and that's where there's a small jiu-jitsu room in there.
Yeah, I haven't been in there, but the building I'm saying once they moved to the bigger building, now they started bringing in. It's basically like not only a gym, but from what I understand, there's it's like dormitory. Now there's a hotel that supposedly actually was built because of that. Gym people come, they bring their families. They train it. They train before a fight, and they get to be with their family. They can bring their family along.
Gotcha.
But the initial intent, I think, of the gym was to bring in fighters, and they could dorm there. They could stay there, live inside of the gym. There was kitchens and TV rooms and things like you just said, and that just now it's just exploded. But my point being is that we're so close to that gym. Now, the other day we had a kind of like a Titan FC champ in the other day. I was just like, didn't really know till after the fact. I go on my friend's, one of my co-hosts, Miguel. It's a friend of his. He told him come in for an open mat. So my larger point here is that with this, we're in the land of jiu-jitsu and MMA. We're like literally 10 minutes away. It's like there's so many gyms around our area. We are one of the bigger jiu-jitsu gyms too. So we got a lot of space and big mats. And if you go on my IG, you can see.
For every gym, so obviously it's free advertising, and then whenever that interview comes up, so it's going to be a lot kind of like the UFC always does that. It says like the name of the gym and the city and everything like that. So every gym that we go to is going to get a shout out, and it's literally free advertising. So it's not costing them anything. And so what they're getting is A, exposure, B, more people in there that hopefully haven't trained before that'll sign up. I had an event down in Colorado Springs. I'm actually going back there again. It's called Team Chaotic. It was Anthony Santiago.
Okay.
I think his nickname's like Viper or something like that.
Okay.
He crushed me too. I mean, it's Minnesota's like, I live at 800 feet elevation. It's like 7,000 there. And so I'm in there trying to roll and I'm just getting destroyed and I can't breathe. But we had 2 veterans actually sign up because of that seminar. So I was like, all right, that's exactly what I want to do, you know? So I already got a bunch of veterans that are like ready to go. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know that we'd have people there, so we'll mention it. I'll talk to Junior. We'll mention it. I wanted to ask you a quick question too. Like, I'm going to go back. I want to go back to the wife question, but I also want to just mention before I forget. When you're doing your fundraising, just something that I discovered, and I'll tell you from talking to the guys at Tap Cancer Out, we interviewed. We had Tap Cancer Out on the show. I forget his name. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And they use a platform called Classy. I don't know if you've heard of classy.org. Classy.org. And I mentioned it to Kevin Linderman at We Defy. I didn't hear back from him about it, but I started using it for us. We got away from the GoFundMe, and basically what it is it allows you the opportunity to let other people raise money for you. He said something in that interview where he was just like, I don't raise money anymore, right? You raise money for them, and then you get to compete in the Tap Cancer Out events. Well, we're taking that and doing that now. And, we'll probably talk about it at the end, when we let you go. We always, mention, hey, go on and donate here. So besides being able to donate to our Jiu Jitsu Dummies Foundation on IG and Facebook, we've added the donation buttons there. Again, I don't know if you have that there, right? You can get approved to donate to Facebook and then they'll give you the button. You can actually, enable it. So
yeah, that's actually fun. Facebook's one of our best fundraisers.
Yeah. Yeah. So number one, so if you do that, anybody that's posting, like, you got to tell people, and I haven't seen postings on Facebook specifically about you guys. I've been following you on IG, but we got to make sure that anybody that's posting for you, every post can have its own fundraiser, right? You can also set up a page. TJ did a really great fundraiser for his birthday, and then it just went kind of viral. They raised all this money, but Classy allows other people to set up a fundraiser, and you just, it's kind of like of the viral nature of the internet. They can raise money from people that probably might not have ever known who you were, somebody's mom and dad. So, again, that's what Tap Cancer Out does. They raise money, their competitors raise money, and if they hit a certain point, they compete for free. So we actually, and that all came together because our second winner, Gemma Fiorenza, a young lady that she won our second scholarship. We announced her scholarship when we had the guys on from Tap Cancer Out. So
nice.
It just kind of came together. It's like, why aren't we using this? We're using GoFundMe. It got us to a point, but Classy again allows other people to raise money for you. Not really. I wouldn't say in the same way that somebody can, post something and then raise money on Facebook, which is great. But this really allows people to sign up, raise for, it's like everybody can have their own GoFundMe. So I definitely suggest for you to check it out. I was going to tell the guys, I was going to reach out to TJ this weekend and tell him, hey, I mentioned it to Kevin after we interviewed them on the last couple episodes ago. And they're doing all this posting with the squat challenges. But they're not. There's nobody is adding the fundraiser, so they've got to add them on Facebook, the fundraiser on Facebook, or every one of those people could be setting up their own We Defy Classy page.
Yeah,
so it takes the fundraising to it. Okay, go ahead.
That's a great idea because I'm doing a challenge starting October 20th, and I'll tell you guys now. I haven't really put this out there yet, but it's going to be called Call 22. Okay. I don't want anybody to think that I'm talking negatively about anything. Doing push-ups and doing squats, it's cool. It raises awareness and everything like that. But what I'm doing, it's going to be called Call 22, and I'm going to push all veteran nonprofits and everybody to get on this. Call 22. Every single day, 22 veterans or so kill themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a veteran on October 20th. Me and that veteran on October 21st are going to call a veteran. Those 4 veterans will call a veteran. Those 4 veterans, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And if you actually do the math, it'll turn into over 4 million people are going to get a phone call based off of one phone call. And so there's somewhere around I think it was 650 to 1 million veterans in the United States. There's got to be more. I don't know the exact number, to be honest. I don't want to just be saying false numbers. So like one phone call will literally waterfall into over 4 million.
That's great.
So I mean, the goal is to reach out, but I don't want it to be just for veterans. You know, it's going to be called Call 22. It's based off veterans. But if you're not a veteran, call a buddy of yours who you haven't talked to in a long time. Or if you see somebody posting some weird stuff on Facebook, call them, not text them, call them, because words that you actually hear from somebody's mouth rather than from a device are completely different.
Yeah.
You know, I want everybody to get in on this, but obviously any money raised is going to go to Warrior's next venture. But I love that idea of using that website. That's actually a really good idea.
It's honestly like I think it's $48 a month for the platform, which is completely doable. You can run 4 different campaign sites. This is like a commercial for Classy, but there's 4 different you can set up 4 different types of campaigns. So I've set up the one where competitors can raise money for us, and we'll pay for their competition fee. I don't care where it is. We'll pay their up to $100, and then we also give them a gi, or depending on their money raised, like you give them a perk essentially, right? Yeah. Again,
kinda
listen,
like
it's the Tap Cancer Out model. If you go and you do like we signed up for the Tap Cancers Out, their grappling day. I think it's December 12th, if I'm not mistaken. So you roll for 1 hour, get a training partner, and roll for 1 hour.
Yep.
Videotape it. You can send it to them. It can be any time of the day, just around the world. People can grapple but we set up a fundraising page for that, so we're going to do it, but then people can donate to our page. So
awesome.
that's the concept. So it kind of takes it off of Facebook essentially, but anytime that you post about anything, if you put the donate on specifically on Facebook, if you also add in, every post allows you to add in like a smiley face and how are you feeling? Well, it also allows you to add a nonprofit. So you should be adding those. And sometimes like nobody will donate anything, but somebody might donate $5 every single. It might get a little bit too much for some people, but if it's something,
do one a day.
If it's something like what you're talking about, like you're going to post about the documentary, well, add the donation button. That's the Facebook donation button. But again, how is it scalable? How do you really kick that up? Utilizing something like Classy, where somebody that just knows somebody, like somebody that would never go on an adventure with you, but maybe they know somebody who died or committed suicide, or a veteran that's having problems, and they go, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to set up this, and they don't have to know you. They don't have to communicate with you. They don't have to watch this podcast, but they've heard about you. They could set up that page, and now you've got all of these people raising money. That's, I'm not letting the cat out of the bag here, but that's Tap Cancers Out business model. That's how they're getting other people to raise money for them, which is great. It's wonderful. They've donated $1 million, and I've got one open for that. I've got my grappling day, fundraiser up, and if anybody out there wants to donate to it, it's in the podcast description. So it's just like
this is perfect.
In
July we're climbing Mount Whitney. It's actually the highest mountain in the lower 48 states. It's 14,500 feet, and so we're actually going to do a lottery. So I'm going to have everybody start a fundraiser, and I was debating on using Facebook or GoFundMe, but it sounds like Classy would actually be easier.
For $48 a month, it is well worth it. I mean, they take a little piece, but it's nominal in the overall scheme of things.
Well, the cool thing about this, so what I'm going to do is every veteran who's interested in climbing the mountain with us, I'm going to take 10 veterans with me. So every veteran who has an interest in climbing this mountain, what they need to do is set up a fundraiser. It sounds like Classy would be good for that. And then they have to say why they want to go on the trip, what they think it'll do for them, and then the first 8 people to raise $1,000 are going to get an all expenses paid flight or trip to come out and climb the mountain with us.
There you go.
And then the 9th and the 10th person, we're going to pick out of a lottery. So if you raise $200, that's one entry into the lottery. So every $200 increment is going to be one entry. So you raise $1,000, but you're the 9th person, then you get 5 entries. So then what we're going to do is we're going to pick out of the entries, and then 2 people, even if they only raise like $200, they still have a chance to go on an all expenses paid trip. Plus you get all the people who do raise money, but unfortunately don't get, the pick. And then I'll probably do something along the lines of, if you raise $100, you get a t-shirt and a hat or something like that.
Yeah. You give them a perk that, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so like these hats made by, Southpaw Laser Techniques, these guys are amazing.
This reminds me of like the way that you can do things now. I don't know if you remember, the one that sticks out to me was jump rope for heart. I don't know if you ever back when I was in like sixth grade, seventh grade,
like kids.
You're going to jump rope, but you get people to donate based on how much you finally do. You know, you're gonna if I go this many minutes, hours, whatever it is, or people will do something where I'm going to run this many miles. You're going to pay me $10 for every mile. Well, this is kind of that, but they're just it's not based on any type of performance. You know, it's not like I've got to hit a certain mark. It's just like, look, I'm going to be doing this. Help me donate. And every time you put out, again, you can do up to 4 at that level, that $48 level, just for the platform, which it's an amazing platform. It will allow somebody to become a fundraiser, which is, great. But then there's also a button right there, so somebody can just donate right there. So I don't want to become a fundraiser, but I want to support you. So you click on the donate button, and you can set up a recurring donation. Hey, give me $5 a month. For forever how long until you stop, and or they can just do a one-time donation. So definitely look into it. I think it'll be helpful. I have a feeling it's gonna really kick up your efforts.
It will.
I found it. Did you go through that transition with GoFundMe? Right, they were changing their their credit card company, whatever. The merchant account, and so I let mine end, and now we just started doing it. So now we just use Classy, but it's all branded with our stuff, and I check it out. I think it'll work. Let me know if you have any questions about it. I can tell you what how far I've gotten so far. So so that's good. So listen, I want to go back to the question, because this is actually, again, me and Bo were talking about this. We're talking about our wives before the podcast. You said that your girlfriend though. Your girlfriend is she's a competitive weightlifter.
She's done a show, a fitness show, and then she was preparing for another one in July, but they ended up COVID canceled everything. So
what kind of the grander question here is, and I love to get this feedback because it'll help me hopefully in my own relationship, is how supportive is she of what you do? It's you got so much going on. I know that it's not easy when you're not getting that support. My wife does not do jiu-jitsu. She will never do jiu-jitsu. I bought her. I got her a gi. Somebody gave me a gi, and I got it in her size. I said, let me get a gi for my wife. She put it on. We took a picture. We never did anything.
Oh no!
So first of all, does your girlfriend does she do jiu-jitsu at all? Do you try to train with her? Does she get on the mat at all?
She's come to the gym, I think, twice, and she's expressed interest in coming back.
Yeah.
She, like I said, I told her, I was like, dude, if you start training jiu-jitsu, you're gonna be a monster.
Yeah.
Because she's already strong as shit. So just, I'm like, you have the body style and everything like that, and you would crush the competition. And she picks up pretty quickly, but we do jiu-jitsu elsewhere as well, so I mean it always kind of turns into that.
That's a whole nother show. So is she fully supportive of I mean, there's a lot that you're doing here. Does she go on these adventures with you? Does she come with you? Is it just something that you do on your own?
Yeah, so she's an addiction counselor, and she actually started a company called Rebels and Renegades. And so what she's trying to do is she's got all kinds of different things that she's doing with that, with like nutritional stuff, but also helping people with addiction. So we had actually talked, and she was here the other day, Wednesday. We had a veteran move here from Kentucky, and he didn't have a car, and so I reached out and I had somebody actually donate a car towards next adventure.
I saw that on your IG. I think I just saw that today.
Yeah,
I was stalking you just to get some info, do some background.
That's all right. So she came the night of the barbecue, and we still had to clean out the car, and so she straightened up the garage a little bit and then helped us clean the car. She helped with the barbecue. She's extremely supportive of everything that I do, and probably the only complaint is we need more time together, because there's not enough hours.
And therein lies the kind of the subtext of my question is balance, is trying to find that balance, that work, because look, this is my side gig. Like you have your side gig. This is my side gig. The foundation is my side gig. The podcast store is my side gig. There's a full. I have a 9 to 5 in the marketing world.
You got a full-time side gig.
Yeah, I got a full-time. So it's hard, and we just went through. We lost our dog this week. We closed on our house the same day. Man. Thank you. We're in purchase of pre-construction. Like it's been the mortgage, the showing the house during COVID. it's been the toughest. I mean, COVID was bad enough, and knock on wood, I haven't lost anybody close to me. But on top of COVID, we were doing all of these things, and it's been like there's just a lot of pressure on the relationship. Then I wasn't training. Then I wasn't training. Blew out my knee. I would have been finding training. Sprained my ACL and MCL, so I've been out till just about 2 weeks ago, and look, it's been tough. It's been tougher than it would have been if I was still training, getting that stress release. But so much happened at one time. So we've had a couple of talks about it, like making that time.
Yeah, that stress release you're talking about is exactly what I'm pushing on veterans, is because a lot of vets get out of the military and they get fat, they get lazy, it's just they give up. It's like, dude, what are you doing? And so I at one point was like 215 pounds, but no muscle and all fat. It was gross. And then I ended up started to train jiu-jitsu, and I actually used jiu-jitsu as like a weight loss thing. And I actually quit drinking for a little while because I wanted to be better at jiu-jitsu. And it just that feeling you get, it's like euphoria when you leave the mats, right? So one of the things that me and my coach talk about often, it's like when you get to the gym, you can be pissed off, you can be angry, you can be irritated and all that shit. You can't think about that stuff when you got a gorilla on your back trying to choke you out. So all of your problems leave the mat. And so it's just you and your training partners and jiu-jitsu. And then when you get off the mat, it's like, those problems really aren't that big of a deal. Yeah. And it kind of makes everything just kind of
puts it into perspective.
Out. So yeah, exactly. And like I started calling my girlfriend when I would leave jiu-jitsu, and she's mentioned, I'm super happy after jiu-jitsu, even though I just got murdered on the mats. It's just such a good feeling. I feel accomplished. So my mindset when I'm talking to veterans who need a little help with like physical fitness or something like that, because I help veterans lose weight as well. I'm not qualified to give dieting advice. However, I just share my experience. So like I was on the carnivore diet for a while, which was awesome because who doesn't like steak and eggs? And then like
my heart doesn't like steak and eggs.
Hey, it ain't bad if you don't mix carbs in with it, so it's actually not bad. But no, so like I tell these guys all the time, it's like when my mind is not doing well, I beat the crap out of myself at the gym, whether it's lifting weights or training jiu-jitsu, because when you're physically healing, you got to think about like this: your brain is a muscle. So when you're physically healing, you're mentally healing as well, because your body is quite literally healing itself. And so you can stop and think, physical health is going to equal mental health. So if you're out of shape or you don't do any kind of physical fitness, you need to think about it, because it will affect your mental health.
I think I've told my wife, and I probably have to remind her, we're going to go to dinner after the podcast. I'm going to take her and my daughter out just as a little bit of a, like, we're there. We went through so much, even just in the last week, that we just need a little kind of family time. But I think I have to remind her. Important. I think I have to remind her. I'm almost positive I've told her before. If you're mad at me, if you need something, want something, get me when I come home from jiu-jitsu, and I'm probably going to be the easiest to convince, the most apologetic. It's almost, I'm going to relate it to like that 2 minutes after sex, where it's just like your guard is down, everything is, you're just smiling and you're happy. That's the time that you should be asking me for something, not after a full day of work. I haven't trained, all the crazy things that are happening, and then we've got to have a serious conversation about something. My wife is awesome.
And everything. It's like,
my wife is incredible. Let me just say that she is awesome. We shoot in the house. We're moving. Like, she's like, take over the garage, a 2-car garage that we're going to take over to put the studio and mats and the whole thing. So super supportive. Hates jiu-jitsu. Hates when I take too much time for jiu-jitsu, but she's like, go do it. I know that you need it, to go do it. She's never going to try to stop me from doing it. But again, if I could give any advice, is that if you need something, get me right after jiu-jitsu. Is probably, I'm probably going to say yes.
That's great too. The fact that she acknowledges the fact that, you need jiu-jitsu, right? Mm-hmm. So my girlfriend is very good at understanding, like, I need a lot of this stuff. It's not just fun time. It's literally heart and soul. This nonprofit is my heart and soul, but I always dedicate minimum of 1 day just for me and her. So like, my schedule just changed. So today is actually, Saturdays kind of turned into our day after I get off work at 2:30. So,
Milton had to go fuck it up for me with the scheduling a podcast on a Saturday.
Kill me. No, she's cool about it. So one of the things that we've done is we actually have a podcast together as well. It's called Rebel Perspective Podcast, because I'm kind of this rebel veteran in the mental health world because I don't have any certifications. However, I guarantee you, I'm
not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
Yeah, pretty much. I can give you a different perspective in life, and that's something that I've created. It's nothing that can be replicated. There's other ways, but my way is just different because a lot of it has to do with the mindset of Buddhism. Is a lot of it, and I don't try to tell people to be Buddhist or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to do ever. And like I said, I'm not even one, but I like the theories. And so I took the theories of Buddhism and I transferred them into how it can help veterans. How is this going to be useful to us? And a lot of it has to do with ownership, acceptance of your past, and realizing that, life is suffering, and a lot of items are what cause suffering. So a lot of us, especially materialistic people, you got to stop and think, like, all of these connections just cause more suffering because you have more things to worry about. When you make everything smaller, it's so much easier to deal with. But a lot of it has to do with anxiety as well. So you start thinking about all these things, and there's so many things going on in your brain, right? And so have you ever meditated before?
Yes. Funny enough, I did P90X videos for a little while. And they had the kind of the yoga, they called it yoga belly, I think. At the end of that, an ab video, they did yoga and ohms, and it got me into kind of discovering that side of meditating. But I haven't done it recently. But
nice. So I started teaching veterans how to do mindfulness meditation, and so really what that makes you understand is to be ultra aware, not just of your thoughts, right, but of your surroundings. What's going on, everywhere around you. And it's not just to make you like super worried and nervous about everything going on. That's not the point. The point is to understand that there are so many moving parts in this universe, and you got to understand you are such an insignificant part of that puzzle. But it doesn't mean that you have to feel insignificant. You can still be great in a world where, when you really stop and think about it, there's 7 billion people in the world. You can stick out. But you have to take charge of that. And you have to understand, how am I going to stick out? What value do I bring this world? It's because one of the biggest issues with a lot of people is whenever they start to feel depressed, it's because they either they feel like they have zero value in this world and they don't provide value for anybody. They don't have any skills. They don't have anything that they can think of, or they don't have any hobbies. They don't have a positive outlet. And so the main thing is finding out what's your positive outlet? What makes you happy? Helping veterans in any way makes me happy. That's the only thing in this world right now that I can think of that just, it truly makes me happy. There's other things too.
Hold on 1 second, Bo. Can you give me the plug for my Mac? It's gonna go off. If I move out of here, I'm gonna knock everything over. Can you just give me the plug? My Mac is it unplugged. I'm sorry, brother. 1 second.
No, you're good.
Well, I don't know if we'll cut this out, but it's right there. The white, yeah, right there. Yeah. There you go. Sorry about that. The little.
No, you're good, man. Don't worry about it.
Power. There we go. Give a little juice. I'm sorry. Bo has a question for you, Nick.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, he's got to get his headset back on. Like, I didn't want to get up to knock everything over, but Bo's knocking everything over in the studio now. So.
Everything just fell down. He might be interested to check out Dr. Joe Dispenza. Check out a video called How to Stop Being Yourself.
I preach Joe Dispenza left and right.
Thank you. That could be because
I love him.
The mind-body connection, nobody really explains it as good as he does.
That's funny. Bo's been in my ear about that a little bit, about like Bo's in really good shape. He's, he's 53 and he's slender and thin and
haven't worked out in 25 years.
Like, looks muscular, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's always telling me it's mind over matter, basically, is the way I understand it.
Well, what Joe Dispenza always says is, where you put your thoughts is going to get your focus, right? So you're focusing on the negative things all the time, you are going to be a negative person. But if you focus on the positive outcomes of every situation, I'm not saying don't ever think about the negative impact, but when you make the focus the positive, what's the positive that came out of this? It changes everything. And I'm so happy you brought up Joe Dispenza, because epigenetics is literally how I've been helping veterans. I just don't really tell them that because it sounds like woo woo. So like when you actually start to understand is, environment is everything. If you have a shit environment here, everything else is going to suck.
Well, it's the mind, or the way he puts it is thought and emotion. When you just have a thought, it does nothing. But as soon as you apply an emotion to it, it now has an effect, and it cascades through your body. So
exactly. And then on top of that, Tony Robbins always says that, you're having a reaction to this because you're giving it meaning. You choose what you give meaning to. And I say all the time, one of my most said phrases is, you can't always control what happens to you in life, but you can always control your reaction. And it's all about the power of thought, and I started listening to Bruce Lipton. He was the first person that I started listening to about epigenetics. He's kind of like the father of epigenetics. He doesn't have a lot of content out there, but Joe Dispenza, he took it just another step further. And there's what's the name of that series again?
You're not on, Mike.
You mean How to Stop Being Yourself?
No. It's he's got another one. This is gonna piss me off. See, this is the brain damage thing coming in.
You talking about the spontaneous healing?
That there's a series that was put out on his website, and it's driving me nuts because I can't remember but it's mainly talking about epigenetics. It's digging into epigenetics and mind over matter, and how thought is literally the most powerful thing in the world, and talking about manifesting.
Well, thoughts become things. Thoughts become things.
Exactly.
That's right.
And see, here's the
this sounds secret-esque. The secret, right? Secret-esque.
This
totally is.
Yeah. That is the secret.
Positive thinking and
thoughts become things. When you understand that is the secret.
The thing that a lot of people leave out, though, is you have to fucking grind, and that's where Gary Vaynerchuk comes in. Gary Vaynerchuk, he's an entrepreneur, and so I have these two voices yelling at me. One that's like super energetic and swears a lot, and another one that's like super calm, quiet, and educational. So it's like I listen to motivation constantly. So Tony Robbins is probably the one person in the world I'd love to meet. Either him or Joe Dispenza. But it's just it's all about what meaning, what do you assign meaning to? For a lot of people, they turn it into jujitsu. Jujitsu gets their focus. Jujitsu gets their meaning. Their meaning for jujitsu is, this is my healing path, and it's totally possible for anybody to go down that path. You just have to find the positive outlet that's going to help you actually get your shit together.
Nick, I'm not going to lie. This has been one of my favorite podcasts ever. Just no, I'm being serious. I'm not even making a joke. It's I need after the week that I've had, I needed to hear some of this stuff. Number one, I needed to hear it. Number one, that I might not have as bad as a lot of people out there. That I'm on the right path, helping people and talking about this stuff. So, and again, just fucking what a tough week. And this has been helpful just to kind of like hear other, like, listen, my shit's not so bad. And talking about it definitely helps, Yeah,
absolutely. And
I hope this helps somebody else too.
I guarantee it will. And what I tell a lot of veterans too, or just anybody, don't compare your story. There's a lot of people, I get what you're saying with like, yeah, my story's not that, or my problems aren't that bad. Could be true. At the same time, everybody processes trauma differently. A dog dying, I don't care what anybody says, is fucking trauma. That sucks. That's a friend. It's not
first time.
You're talking to the guy that exactly. You're talking to the guy that literally plays with wolves. We become so connected with our animals. And so when you have a loss like that, it's going to hurt. And so the one word of advice that I would tell you is, make sure you actually take the time to grieve. Because there's a lot of people that want to just skip and move on. So if you don't take that time to stop and grieve about something, if it's a dog dying, a friend committing suicide, if you don't actually process that trauma, it will come back and bite you in the ass, usually in the form of relationships. It's going to screw up your relationships. Okay. So,
I'm going to take that advice. Yeah. I'm going to take that advice. I'm going to make sure that I buy I'm going to buy everybody dessert tonight at dinner, and maybe give them a little apology about being so fucking so tough this last week.
Do I get a mudslide? That's not a sexual position. So.
I got one last question for you, Nick, and then we're going to wrap things up. Okay, this is I don't know if you might have heard me ask TJ this question. Okay, I consider this one of the most important questions in jiu-jitsu. Period. I mean, not to overstate it. Do you or do you not wash your gi belt? Do you or do you not wash your belt?
I thought you were going to ask if I pull guard. I used to not ever wash my belt. Okay. However, I started to think about all of the germs and sweat and bullshit that gets all over that belt, and it's like ding, 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 ding. I wash it once a month.
The shittiest part of that answer is that all of my belt washers are only on the episodes where my non-belt washing co-host, they're not here. So I don't get to rub it in their faces. But I think we've got another
that's
one.
Why I'm a blue belt.
You hear that, Junior? You hear that, Junior?
Hashtag team wash your belt. All right, Nick. Look, we're running a little short on time here, but we're gonna do some housekeeping. But we're gonna let you go, man. Listen, I really appreciate you. This has been awesome. Again, this has really been one of kind of my favorite podcasts. Just kind of, I needed to hear some of this stuff today, and I appreciate that. But let's definitely get back together when either you're in Florida when you're doing the documentary, or let's do this again in a couple of months. See where you guys are at. Give us an update, and check out that classy, man.
For sure. Reach out to your coach and see if he'd be interested in hosting an episode or hosting a seminar. And it's not me teaching; it would just be your instructor.
I can't see him saying no, to be honest. So I'm definitely going to do that. Cool.
The only stipulation I have is I'll have somebody there and I'll have a merch table because that's how I'm funding a lot of the shit. And then I want a We Defy ambassador selling merch as well.
Okay. No, well, you got a couple of them. Yeah.
Whatever We Defy sells in merchandise, they obviously keep. Whatever I sell, I keep. But then anything on the GoFundMe is, like I said, 10% of the GoFundMe profits are going to go towards We Defy. So
awesome.
Junior's
just my way of supporting them as well.
Yeah. We could, Junior's a rep. We could put him in a skirt and have him sell.
All right, we're going to bounce. I appreciate you, Nick. Again, let's do this again. And good luck with everything, man. I'm looking forward to seeing this documentary, man.
Yeah, check out www.warriorsnextadventure.com. There's a Patreon on there. There's a donate button. Then you can also donate on Facebook. We are pretty much every single social media as Warriors Next Adventure: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, stuff like that.
Perfect. Awesome, man. All right, brother. You take care. We'll talk to you soon. I'll message you with some details about when we're going to launch. Okay.
Sounds good, man. I'll send you the link for the GoFundMe too.
Yes, please. We probably it's Saturday. We'll come out on usually Tuesday. This coming Tuesday.
Good, man.
All right, man. Okay. All right. Take care. Thank you, man.
Talk soon. Bye.
All right, Bo. How much time do I have for my housekeeping? We're running short.
Roughly 3 minutes.
Okay, let's do this real quick. Thank you to the crew over at DD 214 Fightwear. For my shirt today. We'll talk a little bit about more what that means when Junior and Miguel are here. Big thank you as always to Fightback CBD. Use code JJD for 15% off your Fightback or your order at fightbackcbd.com. Warbar Soap, get 25% off your order of any of their hygiene products at warbarsoap.com. All right. We're doing some giveaways. Check out our IG, Jiu Jitsu Dummies. We're doing Fight Back giveaway. We're giving away 4 bottles this month, 2 prizes of 2 bottles. And then we're also doing a $100 giveaway with Flow and Roll. So go check all that out. You can get 15% off of your order at jujitsudummies.shop with code JJD. That's our podcast store. Free shipping on orders over $50. Anybody out there want to be on the show, want to work with us, want to sponsor, send me an email at info@jujitsudummies.com or just send us a direct message through one of our social media platforms. Do I got time to do the podcast patrons today? Yeah. I do. Shout out to Robert Walker, Frank Howes, Liam Berg, Wolseley Rivera, Boa Athletics, Michael Pixley Jr., Jason Smiley, Britt Tovar, James Fisher, CJ Carroll, Mission 22, Chuck Reddoor, and Roberto Santiago. Don't forget to support us on Amazon Smile. You can change your settings so that they donate a little bit to the foundation. You can get me at Uncle Milty BJJ on Instagram. We're good. Did I make it, Bo? Yeah. At the wire? All right, listen, I appreciate everyone. Thank you to Bo. He's always always on point with the setup here.
You're welcome.
We'll be moving into a new studio in a couple of weeks before we move into our house. So take care, everyone. Thank you for watching. Oos. Din, 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 din.